There it is. And then just remember that at the end of the conference, you guys will get a link, kind of a survey. Please do that link so that you can get your CRC credits. Now, I think that's most of the rules, and we'll learn a little bit more about our presenters, and then we'll get started. So first, we've got Miss Veronica Jackson. She has a passion for leadership development. She graduated from the University of Arkansas at Fayetteville in 2005 with a bachelor's in biology and a master's in higher education in 2008. Veronica is a trainer at the University of Arkansas Currents. She's a first-generation college graduate who has worked in the educational field for over 16 years on the secondary and post-secondary level. During her years working for Currents, Veronica has created and implemented training curricula that prepared over 1,000 youth with disabilities for their transition after high school. Veronica Jackson is a visionary professional who is committed to serving the community and devoted to enhancing the leadership skills of others. Her goal in life is not to make millions, but to make a difference. Love that. And then Miss Robin, who will be joining us shortly. Robin Freeman has served as the director of the University of Arkansas Currents, a nationally recognized training and consultation center since 2016. Under her leadership, Robin has designed and delivered a range of leadership and organizational development training programs for state and national vocational rehabilitation organizations and associations. She oversees the planning, development, and implementation of national training projects and uses an entrepreneurial approach to developing partnerships with federal, state, and local organizations. She's an advocate of disenfranchised populations, having served in positions of leadership for over 18 years. Robin is a doctoral candidate in adult and lifelong learning at the University of Arkansas, with research interests in transition-age youth, disability, and poverty. She has a master's in public administration, a graduate certificate in nonprofit management, and a bachelor in journalism. Excuse all of my stumbling, but unless anybody has any questions, we'll go ahead and kick it off to Ms. Jackson and start this Enhancing Your Leadership Potential presentation.
Thank you for that. There was one question. Someone asked, what is U of A Currents? U of A Current stands for the Center for the Utilization of Rehabilitation Resources for Education, Networking, Training, and Services. I had to pull it up to make sure I got it right. But ultimately, the goal of Currents really is to do training and professional development for people like you, those who are going out and serving and connecting to their community to make it a better place. So Currents is part of the University of Arkansas, but is actually housed in Hot Springs, Arkansas, which is where I used to live. So before we get started with all of the information, we're gonna do two things. First thing we're gonna do is take a minute to breathe. I know you've been in this training since about 9:30 this morning. Some of you stepped away to get lunch, some of you didn't. So let's just take a minute and breathe. When I say breathe, I want you to breathe in enough for your chest to rise, and then breathe out enough for it to deflate. So we're just gonna take a minute and breathe. Breathing is important. Breathing centers us. Breathing brings us back to where we are. So let's just take a second, or a minute, not a second, a minute, and breathe. Everybody ready? And make that out, make a sound, like, whew, make it make a noise, make it worth it. So breathe in. Oh, let it go. Breathe in. One more time, breathe in. And let that breath out. So if you're not a regular breather in that way, try to incorporate that in your day a little bit more often, especially during times of stress and chaos. Make sure you're breathing. Breathing is important. Breathing reminds us that nobody's chasing us. There are no grizzly bears behind us. We are doing okay. So I'm gonna start with that. And the next thing I want you to do, I know you may not know everybody that's in our room, but I want you to take a minute and peek at who's participating in this session with you. Once you've looked at the list of who's participating, I want you to find 1 or 2 people and give them a compliment. Say something nice to them. Tell them you like their hair. Like, tell me you like my hair because I worked really hard on it. Tell them you like their hair. Tell them you like their smile. You like their outfit. You like something that they did at work the other day. I don't know if y'all are virtual or back in the office, but take another minute and compliment 1 or 2 people that you see that's participating in our session today. If you don't know how that works in your chat, you can chat to everyone, or you can chat to one person in particular with a private chat. Just pull their name down and go ahead and give them some praise and shout them out and tell them how lovely they are, how great of a coworker they are, how much you enjoy working with them. Yes, thank you. Whoever said my hair is nice, yes, thank you. Lots of hard work there. So take a minute and do that. Thank you.
Hello.
Hey, Robin, we are doing a little bit of an activity where they're telling different people that are participating in our session today something that they like about them, giving them some accolades, giving them some praise. We just started about 30 seconds ago. So.
Good.
It is nice to see faces. I feel like I'm back in Arkansas because I recognize so many people in the room. Oh yes, that Reba red hair. Oh. Okay, well, thank you for participating in that. If you're still typing, keep typing. We want to make this a relaxed atmosphere. We want to have a training today that really is about all of us learning and growing together, because we're growing and becoming in this session. So Robin is going to start us off. And Robin, if you are ready to go, I'm ready to pass it over to you.
Thank you. You're gonna control the screen, right?
Yeah.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. And good afternoon to everyone. And thank you for being in this breakout session on enhancing your leadership, defining the values that drive you. We can go ahead and get started on the first slide. I want to get your input on when did you feel like you had, as a team member, when did you feel most engaged in your workplace? And I'd like for you to put that into your the chat function and let us know, when did you feel most engaged in the workplace, and when did you feel most connected to your team members? And I'll give you a few minutes to answer that question while I mute my other computer. Today was not a good day to be late logging in, so I'm sorry for whoever that is. When did you feel most engaged in your workplace, or when did you feel most connected to your team members, and what elements were present? And what do we have? When we had conferences, facing a challenge and having fun. I think that's really important when you know you have a team that come together. Having fun and laughing, when they made me feel welcome from the day one that I was an equal team member, traveling together, it's going down, got some good responses, staff engagement, working on special projects, most engaged after work, when the goal of the team was reached. Our team really works well together. We always try to support. What's that? It says, I felt most engaged when there was a clearly defined, meaningful mission and a practical strategy for implementation. You guys keep putting your comments in, because I think those are really important to our discussion today. Google has a research study, and I think the link is in the resources that are on this slide. And they did a study about psychological safety. And what elements are really present when a team is really most engaged, when people on a team feel like they really belong there. And they found certain things: equality and distribution of conversational turn taking. And what that generally means is that there was no one person who was hogging the conversation. Everyone had the opportunity to speak. Everyone's opinions mattered. As my former pastor used to say when I was growing up, there were no big I's and little U's. Have you heard that expression before? Everyone mattered. And sometimes if you've ever been talked over or talked down, or when talked down to, or when you give a comment and someone maybe they ignore you or they don't respond at all, they don't write your comment down when you're doing a brainstorming session, that definitely can make us feel like our values or our opinions are not valued. The other thing they said mattered was on a team is that they have high average social sensitivity. And what that generally means is that we're able to read body language, we're able to understand the tone of our voices, we're able to pick up on those nonverbal cues and be able to adjust so that we're better able to communicate. And also in that office environment where the team members felt most engaged, there was a sense of confidence that people weren't afraid to take risks. People weren't afraid to call their coworkers out because they didn't fear that there were going to be retributions or that they were going to be rejected or made fun of. There were no stupid questions. In other words, a person that had experienced psychological safety felt free to be me, free to be themselves. We didn't have to come to the office, or in the study they found people didn't have to come to the office and put themselves on a shelf or leave their true personality at home. And they didn't have to be one person at home and another person at the office, that they could really be themselves. And when you have that psychological safety, when everyone feels valued, then you have that trust, you have that group identity that many of you spoke about in your comment sections, and the group function more effectively. Next slide. So building upon that psychological safety that Google found, Daniel Goleman has done some additional work on emotional intelligence. And if you're familiar with that, you know there are 5 areas. He also found that teams that are most successful the team members demonstrate these 5 areas of EQ. And we know intelligence, understanding our policies, understanding how to do things. Intelligence, IQ, is important, but emotional intelligence cannot be emphasized enough in our workplaces. Not only is it self-awareness, self-regulation, but also being motivated, thinking positively, having empathy, and social skills. So we're going to focus today on 2 areas of emotional intelligence. So on the next slide, it talks about the first area, which is self-awareness. It's the ability to recognize our emotions as it happens. And one of the things I find myself doing when I'm working at home, when I have time to take a break, how do I recognize my emotions? I usually have to slow down. Oftentimes I open the back door and I go outside and I sit in the chair and I just listen to the trees. I listen to the squirrels making those weird noises, or I watch the birds flying around. Slowing down and then reflecting on how I felt, when I felt it, helps me develop more self-awareness about my true feelings. Also journaling. Any of you do journaling? Do you write down on the day, you reflect what you've experienced and then you write about it? I think that's a really good way of developing self-awareness of why we feel what we feel and when we feel, what our triggers are. So those are 2 good practices, but being able to evaluate our emotions so that we can better manage them is really important to self-awareness. The next slide tells us about self-regulation. Self-regulation is concerned about understanding how to control and manage ourselves, because when we can control and manage our emotions, we're able to control and manage our behaviors. So if I'm able to control my emotions when I'm anxious, then I'm less likely to stress eat, right? So I need to understand how to regulate my emotions. I remember one time I came home from work. I was driving from Little Rock. I had a meeting in Little Rock. Traffic was terrible. You know, that 5 o'clock traffic where it's 3 lanes of back-to-back traffic. I got home, I was hungry. I think I ate 3 bowls of cereal back to back, stress eating. So self-regulation is important to understand so we can manage how we're feeling, also keep our emotions in check so that we don't go off on someone. And it also helps us to resist giving in to our impulses. And how do we self-regulate? This is where values are so important. Knowing what we believe in, knowing what we stand for, having our own personal code of ethics really helps us to understand or better manage our emotions. So we're going to talk about one of the ways to self-regulate, hone in on values. And of course, being accountable, holding ourselves accountable instead of playing the blame game. And then mindfulness and practicing calmness really helps too. But let's look at values. Going even further with some research, we're gonna ask another question for you to contemplate. If you were to come into your office, whether it's virtual or in person on Monday morning, and a person came up to you and said, "Hi, I'm your new leader, I'm your new director, I'm your new supervisor, counselor, or manager," what questions would you have for that individual? And I'd like for you to put those in the chat now. What questions would you have if you had a person come to you and say, "Oh yeah, of course, can I get a raise?" Really? Would you ask that, Shane? Would you really? What's your leadership style? That's a good one. Yes, Shane said yes. Any other thoughts? What's the first thing you want to know? Expectations. Tell me about yourself. Objectives. Leadership style. How do you handle conflict? Yay, Shane, I agree. What's your communication style? We are all underpaid and overworked, for sure. How can I help you get settled? Oh, that's so sweet. Then after that, can I get a raise? Expectations, goals, those are all good. Please keep them coming. What prepared you for this? That's a good question. On the next slide, we see that more research from Kouzes and Posner. If you're familiar with them, they've done the book, The Leadership Challenge. And I think this was 1993 research that they did, where they evaluated people, did a bunch of interviews, and they found out that most likely much of what you've asked fell into 3 broad categories. What they wanted to know, what people in the workplace want to know about their leaders. Who are you? What do you stand for? What do you believe in? What are your values? 2, where are you headed? Where are we headed, rather? What's our vision? What's our direction? What's our future? And then number 3, what are you going to do? And how's that going to impact me? What changes are you going to make? So this tells us again why values are so important to you, because people want to know, as you've already said in the comment section in the chat, our values are important to us as leaders, as employees, as coworkers. So why do values matter so much? On the next slide, I think we're going to go forward to the next slide that I have is what Kouzes and Posner found when they did those interviews with individuals. They found that those values help us, for us in leadership and in our relationships with one another. It helps us to demonstrate credibility. When we're able to clarify who we are, what we stand for, what we care about, and what we believe in, we're better able to take a strong stand on matters that are important to us. We're able to empower others to come along in the process, and we're able to challenge and set a vision for our workplaces. So values are important. When we know what we stand for, when we're clear about what we're all about, when we know what we believe, we're less likely to go along with the status quo. And again, we can align our actions with our values. It's very important to us in helping us determine how we're going to show up, or what our behaviors will what we'll demonstrate in our behaviors. So on the next slide, our core values, other benefits of knowing about our values, it certainly creates a sense of satisfaction. When we know what we value, when we know what our principles or our code of ethics are, this is essential to our well-being. It creates a sense of fulfillment and purpose, and certainly a sense of happiness. It helps us to understand how to define our relationships with our family, with our social networks, whether it's in our communities or in our faith organizations, our friendships. Our values are essential to developing deeper and better relationships, because then we show up not focused on what others want of us, but what our expectations are of ourselves. So it's not about emulating what others believe. I know we have a lot of people we admire, like Oprah or other stars or celebrities who have certain values that we try to emulate. But what's truly important is that we find what is important to us so that we can emulate and be an example to others rather than emulating others. So knowing our values gives us purpose. It helps us to focus on what's important, and it gives us direction on where we're headed, especially when we're making tough decisions. On the next slide, values certainly lead us to focus. And in this game we call life, we need focus because there are so many bumps and bruises along the way, as we have found out today, so many setbacks, so many unexpected occurrences that happen to us, right? Our good intentions will not lead us to success. We have to have focus. We got to know what matters to us. And the only way we're going to know that is to really identify what our values are. When I went to the restroom earlier, I said to myself, you know what? I know what my values are. I keep them on my phone because I know I'm probably not going to lose my phone. Keep my fingers crossed. But I've written it down in here, and I said to myself, I value innovation. I value advocacy for disenfranchised populations. I value inclusion. I value positivity and fairness. I value hard work and persistence. I value distributed leadership, and I value honesty and vulnerability. Those are the things that I value. I think I wrote those down back in February, sometime around then. That hasn't changed for me. And those things give me consistency. It is a good reminder to me, especially when you're going through a tough situation, when you're faced with a challenge, when you don't know which way to go. Be able to look at your values. Can you hear me okay? It says my internet is unstable. Okay, good. So values give us purpose, and it certainly motivates us both intrinsically and extrinsically. It helps us to understand what really matters to us. And that relates back to that self-regulation, right? So that we're better able to control our emotions and how we respond to the game of life. I think the next slide, I turn it over to you, or do I go through this one? Veronica, you don't know? I can do it. So Kouzes and Posner also talked about transformational leadership, and they named 5 areas that really matter to leadership. And this is important to our discussion today, because when we define our values, we determine the things that really drive us as leadership in leadership positions. So we often think about leadership, people who are great leaders being people who have charismatic personalities, that they are able to, that they're born leaders, you know. And that's why we often think about men being the perfect leader. But leadership is really about behavior. It's something we learn. It's something we develop. And so it's an observable set of skills and abilities. Kouzes and Posner found out when they did that research and they interviewed thousands of people about when they demonstrated their best leadership capabilities, they found these 5 areas what rose to the top, no matter what culture they talked to, what person's culture, their gender, their age, their background. These 5 areas were consistent in determining transformational leadership. So modeling the way. They were concerned what people are concerned with how people are being treated. Inspire to share vision. That goes back to that those top three questions about leadership. What do you plan? What's the goal? And certainly inspiring to share vision is being passionate about what we believe, but also being able to get people to come along with us in that vision. Challenging the process. We search for opportunities to challenge the status quo, and also to be innovative, to experiment, and to take risks. Enabling others to act means we foster collaboration. We're building teams where we collaborate with one another. And then encourage the heart. We all want to be recognized, and we want to be able to contribute, and then also to be recognized for the contributions that we make. So rewarding efforts that are being made to our team. All of these, again, reflect back on our behaviors that lead to transformational leadership, and understanding our values certainly helps us to be those transformational leaders. Do we have questions that we want to talk about before we go into our activity? What happens when team members don't subscribe to the vision? That's a good question. What happens when team members don't subscribe to the vision? And Good to Great, in that book, which I keep on my shelf over here with Jim Collins, he talks about the importance of having your team members, everyone should be on your bus, right? That they belong there, that they should all have the same vision. And it's okay to have that conversation with people and say, with team members, and say, sounds like our visions aren't the same, that you have a different vision, and perhaps there's another place where you would fit in better, and let me help you find that place. Just because a person is in your workplace doesn't necessarily mean they subscribe to your vision. Your goal as a leader is to help them find the place where they best fit. I'm going to turn it over to Veronica.
Thank you, Robin. So Robin has given us a great foundation for why knowing what our values are is important. And I'm going to talk a little bit about how to discover what your values are. So it's quite possible that you already have an idea of what you value. If you did the pre-work that was sent out to you before this training, that means that you went to think2perform.com and you did the value card sort activity. Now, I know there might be some who did not do this activity, but if you have done it and you know what your values are, feel free to share some of those values in the chat as I go through how this activity works. So when you go to Think to Perform and you do the value card sort activity, you're given different words that represent values. When I think about core values, I think about the Disney movie. Is it Inside Out? Inside Out, where you had like the core memories and they kind of drove how the young lady acted or showed up in life in the movie. I think about my core values in the same way. My core values are really those things that drive my actions. They drive how I show up in the workplace, at home. They drive the person that I am on a daily basis. Whenever I need to check myself and check my actions, I go back to my core values, as Robin said, and remind myself who I said I was going to be and how I said I was going to show up. So this activity is great. It helps you to come up with either 5, 10, 3, however number you want to stop with. I stop with 5 values that will drive your day-to-day interactions with the people that you hold near and dear, with your coworkers, with your clients, with whomever you are in relationship with. And we're not just talking about romantic relationships. So I'm going to look and see who has done the activity already and who already knows what their values might be. Okay, y'all. Oh, did everybody do the homework?
That's great.
That's awesome. Okay, so those of you who are answering in the chat, thank you for doing the pre-work. That's amazing. That makes my heart happy. Would anybody like to share any surprises that they discovered when doing the activity in terms of what their top 5 values were? And if you would, you could raise your hand, or you could put in the chat that you want to be unmuted, and we'll give you an opportunity to share. Cheryl says she could narrow it down to 10. Well, yes, you can. You have to think about the fact that oftentimes there are other values embedded in a major value. Like for me, one of my big values is spirituality, where there's honesty and trust and different things that are under the umbrella of spirituality. So you just have to dig a little deeper and just think into how you're going to define some of those values. Cup them. It was really hard to narrow down, so I had to cup them. That's exactly what you're doing. You're thinking about what falls within that value. So once you go through this activity, the great thing about Think to Perform is it actually defines the value for you. Now, your definition of what that value means might be different than the definition it gives you, but it does give you a little bit of an opportunity to see what other values can fit under that umbrella. So you go to Think to Perform, you do the value card sort. Another great thing about when you get to the end of the value card sort, it gives you at the bottom of your sheet a little piece that you can cut out to keep in your wallet, to keep on your computer screen at work, somewhere where you can see it. So you go to Think to Perform, you do the value card sort, you get your top 5 values. And once you get those top five values, you take those a little bit further, if I can transition. You take those a little bit further and you define those values. When I say define, as I said, Think to Perform defines them for you, but you need to define them in a way that's meaningful to you. If you define them in a way that's meaningful to you, when you're in that moment where you need to check back to your core value system, it'll remind you that you said you were going to be this person. You said you were going to show up in this way. You said you were going to have this type of energy. And the other thing that was provided to you before we got here today was a handout that we use when going through this activity in person. So you define the value, and then there's one more step. The next step is that you're going to create an ideal self using those core values. When I say ideal self, it goes back to how you want to show up, how you want to demonstrate that you are participating in your life and how it flows each day by showing up and treating people based a certain way based on that value, having an attitude based on that value, communicating based on that value. And the easiest way to do that is to fill in your ideal self I statement. So as a person who values blank, I will demonstrate this value by the following actions blank every day. So if you did do the activity beforehand, let's take a minute and walk through at least one I statement for one of those values. I'll give you an example for myself. So I value family. Family is important to me. My definition of family might be different than yours. My definition is my people. My family is defined by the people who light up when I walk in the room. So if you lit up when I came on the screen, welcome to the family. And the people that making me light up when they walk into the room. That's my definition of family. My I statement for family is, as a person who values family, I will remain connected to those I hold near and dear. I will reach out authentically and respectfully. I will show up in our daily interactions, and I will put their needs first every day. That's my I statement for family. So when I'm thinking about, I really want to go to Hawaii, so I'm going to book a flight and fly to Hawaii, I remember that I said I value family. And if I value family, then I don't want to put my family at risk in the middle of a pandemic to go to Hawaii. So I'm going to check myself and shift back to, because I value family, I'm going to stay in the house and follow the guidelines that the CDC has set when it comes to a pandemic. That's how I'm showing up and representing that I value family. So let's take a minute. If anybody wants to be unmuted and share their value, the definition of it, and their I statement, we'll gladly unmute you and let you share.
I like Dr. Weaver's comment. This was right on with me. My spirituality seems to be the umbrella of my other values. It gives me stability. Service is a huge part of my enjoyment. My active values are work, spirituality, service, stability, autonomy.
That is a great comment. So is anybody just eager to share? Well, Tanisha, you said, I believe our values are dependent on where we are in life. That's so true, because pre-pandemic values might be a little bit different than in the middle of pandemic values. Creativity was always one of my top values before all of this happened. But when I did the value sort here recently, creativity fell off. Yeah. Family became higher, happiness was higher. Spirituality, those became higher than creativity, because during this season, I've shifted, I've refocused, and I've recognized that the things that are most important to me have nothing to do with outside influences. It's more so about self and those that are close to me. Okay. Carla says that I find that my values build on each other. That's also true. I love thank you. My family definition really does come from the fact that my family, my blood family, and I are not necessarily always on the same page. We don't always connect in a way that I feel uplifted and feel like I can show up authentically. So when it comes to my family, it's defined by those who do bring light to my life and make me smile and make me feel joy. And that's just my definition. And that's why it's important to define your values, because it can be different depending on who you are and where you are in life. So I don't see.
So there was just a question from Ms. Jacobs, I believe. It says, do you feel our values change as we age?
Do you feel values change as we age? I do. I believe that they do. I'm knocking on 40. And so I can remember when I first started working for Currents, the values that I had then were a little bit different than the values I have now. Now, I don't know if Robin wants to share her perspective on that, but I believe that they change. But that also goes back to where you are in life, what you're doing in life, the circumstances that are happening around you. My dad passed away during the pandemic. And so for me, I had to really take some time to figure out what was important to me, because I couldn't go into a state of wallowing in self-pity. I had to figure out what I wanted that to mean for me as I move forward. So age can change it, but also just life circumstances and what's happening around you.
Yeah, I agree. And Everett did say as he moved closer to retirement, his values became more home, family, and friends, as opposed to employment related. So I agree with you and Everett. I think situations and age or circumstances can definitely make you shift your values, and that's okay. I mean, we're still learning, we're still growing, and so that's a good thing. Someone said they would like to share. Who was that?
Looks like Jack Christopher. Let's see if I can.
Y'all hear me?
Yes.
I didn't really think I had values. No, I'm joking. My top 5 were challenges, change, competence, creativity, and education. I'm a rehabilitation master student, but I'm also a consumer, I guess, client of ARS. I've had a lot of challenges in my life, and overcoming adversity, even though I have 5 psychological co-occurring disabilities and every day is a struggle. I found this year, as long as I was working on a goal, it was easier to come to a healthier place because everybody was having to get used to the new normal. So I like how they already aligned with what I was trying to do, and I didn't know it. That's all I wanted to share.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else want to say their value out loud or their values out loud? Well, as I said
want to
earlier,
make a comment if I could.
okay.
The one thing about the pandemic, it kind of put us all on the same platform. Nobody was higher or lower. It was just we all were fighting the same battle, and we all were trying to avoid the battle. And I just think this pandemic has kind of opened people's eyes and or closed some people's eyes as well. Just the fact that it's put us all on the same level.
Thank you for sharing that comment. That is so true. I mean, when you look around and you think about what could be happening to the person next to you, or not virtually next to you in Zoom view, you never know what people are going through. And so extending that little bit of extra grace, even with today, that they are putting on a whole virtual conference. This is a big deal. This is a big undertaking. The emails, the text messages, the phone calls, I'm sure it's been rough for the planning committee, but you wouldn't know that because the level at which they have pulled it together in a way where we're still in this breakout room together and able to communicate, that all of that back behind the scenes stuff doesn't necessarily show up. And so we have to be mindful of that. And my values keep me in check when it comes to that. When I say I value spirituality and I say that I want to be light and energy when it comes to others, that means that I don't get the luxury of sitting back and not coming on here with my big full face smile, because I said I value spirituality. And when I say I value spirituality, that means that I want to show light and energy wherever I go. And so that's the beauty of values. Your values really can be that driving force that make you get up and show up every day, even when you don't want to show up, because you know that somebody needs you to show up, right? All right, so once you have figured out what your values are, you define those values, and you have created your ideal self and the vision of how you'll show up and demonstrate those values. You then have to recognize that you have the power to manifest the life that you want. You have the power to be happy every day. And that sounds corny, but it's true. You have the power to decide that I'm going to be my happiest happy every day. And how are we going to do that? We're going to believe that we can be that. We're going to be that by demonstrating our values and believing that we can be that. We're going to take the actions to show up in that way every day. We're going to put forth that extra focus to remind ourselves that nothing is chasing me. As I said at the beginning, there's not a grizzly bear behind me. I can calm down and take a minute to breathe and drink my water and my coffee and relax. Instead of feeling like I have to be go, 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 I can manifest happiness every day. And if you do that, you'll end up achieving that ultimate goal of whatever you want it to be. I tell everybody the story of I'm working out almost every day, and I have a battle with the Stairmaster. Because why am I walking up fake stairs? It's dumb. But I know that if I stick with it, I can burn a certain amount of calories. That means I can have that little extra dessert that I want later in the day. So I believe I can do it. My action is getting on the imaginary stairs, and going for as long as I can and focusing on my end goal so I can then achieve that. It's the same with whatever you desire to do and be on a daily basis. Because we're growing and becoming, we have to remind ourselves that we have the power. I can't control anything outside of me. So since I can control me, I'm going to be really good at that. So after you have decided what your values are, define those values, create an ideal life based on those values, you take it to the end step and create a mission statement for yourself. So does anybody already have a mission statement created? Most people that work with others do have a mission statement or a vision statement. But if you have one and you'd like to share nuggets of it, this would be a great time to do that. The benefits of a mission statement is that they help you to connect your values to your purpose. They help you focus. They help you focus on your core beliefs. They help you to articulate what success looks like, and they help you to better align yourself to organizations, people, and situations. So if you have a mission statement and someone proposes to you to do a project that might be like, yeah, the money is good, but I'm not sure about that, you can go to your mission statement and look at your mission statement and see if it aligns with it. If it doesn't, then that's probably not the project for you. So while we're waiting to see if people would like to share their mission statement, I'll share mine. And it has been, 85% of it has been the same since I was about 24 years old. So I strive to be a willing-hearted worker for God who leads with love and energy. I will help others become well-rounded leaders who are equipped with the tools needed to face their future without fear of failure. I aspire to be a life coach and trainer who assists others with reaching their full potential by guiding and leading them to create a cohesive plan for the future. I will endeavor to lead from behind and teach others how to carry their own wind so they can face the challenges of life ahead. I will expand every day in love, abundance, and creativity as I inspire other people to do the same. That's my mission statement. Anybody want to share theirs? Thank you. Robin, do you have a mission statement you want to share?
I don't have it written down here with me, so it has something to do with about empowering others to be their best selves. So I apologize, I don't have it memorized, and shame on me.
Oh, I don't have mine memorized. It's on my phone where everything else is. So if you've never thought about creating a mission statement, I would encourage you to do that. It's another one of those tools in your toolkit. You have your values, you have your ideal self, and then you have that mission statement. And so often when things get rough and tough, we forget who we said we were going to be, and we decide to just veg out and go into our minds. And that could be a scary place during a time like a pandemic when you have way more time on your hands than you normally would. So take some time and create a mission statement for yourself or a vision statement for yourself, whichever one suits you best.
I have a mission statement that I found it on my phone. I will model all aspects of my life to reflect my Christian beliefs and values of faith, honesty, respect, kindness, forgiveness, and love. I will act as a vessel for a positive change in my family and my community by giving more than I receive. My self-esteem thrives from knowing that I not only beat the odds, but I knocked them out of the ballpark. I made all those who reached out to me proud and surprised those who thought I couldn't achieve. I will have a relationship with my husband that respects love, respect, forgiveness, and happiness. We will show our children the importance of marriage and the fact that marriage can work by understanding our individuality while remaining one. I will love and care for my children while teaching independence, and the importance of putting our Savior first in their lives. I will make sure my children know the feelings of being loved, which will teach them how to express love to others. I will approach each day with energy and passion, even in situations that are challenging. I will act kindly. I will be the best version of me. And if and when I fall short, I will renew my thoughts and start again.
Okay, Miss. And your vision or your mission statement makes me want to be friends with you.
Excellent.
So much of what you said about you feels like me, right?
Excellent. You know what, Veronica? I want to be friends. Your energy is very great.
Let's be friends. Let's be friends.
Of course.
But what you just did was you sold yourself. You told me who you were, how you plan to show up, and when you don't show up in that way, that you're willing to go back and renegotiate the day, right? That's great, because I know who you are. I know that family is a top priority. Don't ask Misty to do anything that's going to interfere with her family time, that's going to keep her from being a great wife to her husband. Misty, I know who you are because you shared your mission statement with me, right? And that's what we want to do. In order to move forward, it's election season. In order to move forward after election season, it's important to know who people are, right? It's important to know what we expect of one another, because we don't know what's going to happen on the outside. So all we can control is what's happening on the inside. Thank you so much for sharing that. Y'all know Misty. If you don't know Misty, you know Misty now. So if you want to be friends with Misty, let her know that your mission and vision and values align with hers. Anybody else want to share? I don't know where we are on time, but.
We don't end until 2:20, so
okay.
we have some time.
Yeah.
Well, I was going to try to read some of the comments, but I'll go to the resources and then we can do questions, answers, comments at the end. We have a lot of great resources. If you don't know Robin Freeman from U of A Currents, she's a researcher. All of the information we're sharing is research-based stuff. It's the real deal. And here are some additional resources if you want to do your own research on what it takes to really align yourself so that you can not only be a transformational leader, but you can lead others to transform themselves. One of the big ones that we've talked about today is Think to Perform, which is where the value card sort activity came from. So if you didn't have a chance to do that before today, I encourage you to go through your values, create your top 5 values, and have those prepared so that you can do the rest of the activity. I also encourage you, if you have a partner, significant other, you're married, sit down and do the values for your marriage and your relationship too. It's one of the things my husband and I did, because although you're married to someone because you like them, sometimes you're not on the same page when it comes to what should be at the top of your priority list. So this is a great activity you could do with your spouse. And then you can also do it with your coworkers in your organization to make sure that everyone in the organization is on the same page in terms of what they value. Robin, you want to add anything to that piece?
I think that's a great idea. I found that I did this with my husband, and for those of you or us who are struggling and asking yourself the questions about your career choices, it starts with knowing your values. And then you build upon that, knowing your strengths, and build upon that, write your mission statement. So I would highly encourage you, because this year of 2020 has done a lot to our mental state and put a lot of things about ourselves in doubt. So we need to have focus about who we are and what we stand for, what we believe in, especially when it comes to making choices about our careers, about opportunities. Every opportunity is not for us. It should align up with our values. It should align with our mission statement. So it's a great measuring tool for things that come your way. So please do the value sort, do the activity, take time for yourself to do the mission statement. And I think you'll find that like we've heard from Nathan and Misty and for others who have shared their mission statements, it's so great because it provides such good focus for us.
And someone said you should print your values, not your value, your mission statement out, put it in a frame, put it on the wall. I think that's a great idea. It's your guiding light, right? It's how you want to show up. If you think about it like a business or a corporation, there was a time in which something happened in the last few months where I went to every company that I monetized to read what their mission statement was and what their value statement was, and in terms of that situation that happened, because I want to spend my money where someone values what I value, where someone responds to things in the way that makes me proud. So your mission and vision statement, it's the same thing. It's your selling point. It's you showing people who you are before they even contact you.
It's also your way of inviting people in.
Yes, like Misty, my best friend, just did.
You have, if you feel like you have weights in your life, people who have become weights, people who have drained your energy, it's because your mission statement doesn't align with their mission statement. You need to do this activity with them, or do it for yourself, so you'll know, okay, this is why my sister or my friend that I've known all my life is sucking all the energy out of me, because we are bucking instead of coming together. So it's really important to help us understand where we should build relationships and where we should walk away.
That's a great point, Robin. Like, if you've ever been in a space where you're super uncomfortable and you can't figure out why, it's probably because everybody in that atmosphere is that you're not in alignment with them. You have a different energy. I've had a friend that I've been friends with since college, and one of the hardest things during this time has been pulling away from her, because I'm recognizing that we are not in alignment. We are not on the same page. And I would rather pull away now than for me to have a moment where I can't self-regulate and respond in a way that I shouldn't be responding. So.
Hey everyone, we got about 5 minutes left, a little bit more.
Okay. A few people asked for these references to be shared with them directly to their email address. I think the full PowerPoint and materials will be shared afterwards, but I will make it my business to share them with you. Who was that? If I can get to it.
Yeah, I think we're trying to get permission from all the presenters, but we're hoping to be able to post at least the recordings of sessions on our website, and then hopefully the presentations as well, the PowerPoints. So.
Okay. Thank you for that.
Mm-hmm.
What I learned today doesn't make yesterday wrong. It makes tomorrow better. So please don't take anything that you learned during this session as a slap on the hand or the wrist. Our goal really is just to introduce new information. I learn something new every day that makes me think about things that I've done and things that I've said. So my hope is that you have learned something today that you could take into tomorrow and make it better. Ultimately, goals are important, but values are valuable. When I think about my values, I think about those things that bring me up and hold me to a higher standard, those things that are locked away in my toolkit, just in case I need them. A bad encounter with someone, I need to pull out that value of spirituality and remember to put a smile on my face and offer them some grace, right? Value of family. In the midst of trying to take care of a home with my husband, I need to remember that I actually love him and show up in a loving way. So your values are part of your toolkit. And my hope is that you do the activities and you are better suited and stronger for the days ahead. There's a few things happening in the chat. Are there any questions that you want to ask about the materials that we've shared or the information that we've shared?
I think most of the chat right now is just how awesome you guys are.
Well, thank you.
I'll receive that. And I will say that if anybody wants to do some follow-up coaching with me or Veronica, you have our information here. Would love to be able to walk you through and provide some support. We're more than available to help you with that. just reach out. Let us know. You have our emails here. So thank you for being with us today.
Lost taste or smell. All right. Have you been exposed to anyone with COVID?
Uh-oh.
Have you tested in the last 20 days?
Who's that doing a survey?
Yes, ma'am.
It's a sign of the time.
Oh, here's my mask.
Yep, yep.
I was looking for my other mask. It's better.
I'm going to
Half the
I'm gonna
people
leave this
aren't
with you.
muted.
so that we can see each other. And
So just a quick reminder, you won't get the evaluation today. It'll come at the end of the day tomorrow. So be looking for that at the end of the training day tomorrow. You'll get an evaluation to your email. Please, 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 if you can get on early tomorrow at 9:40. I said 9:45 in the chat, in the message. I just bumped it up 5 minutes. Give us a little time to get you into your breakout room. We did pre-assign people for whatever reason. If you're using a different email address when you log into Zoom, it's not seeing you in your breakout room. Thank you all for your patience and your participation today. It's been an awesome day. I've loved it. Thank you, Veronica.
Yes, thank you guys. It was an awesome presentation.
Thank you.
Appreciate you.
Great information.
Hey, Fred Harris. Good to see you.
Okay.
oh, that's Robin Hunt.
There's Robin. This is the end of our training day, so we're looking forward to seeing you tomorrow.
I'm trying to look through and see who I know.
Hey, Robin, did it, oh, I'm gonna stop the recording, y'all, sorry.